to wrap up We Bear Bears month, it's gonna be Tapes and Charlie. This episode, I was originally gonna be reviewing the first two episodes centering around Charlie just trying to avoid Tapes while Tapes is investigating the creature known as Bigfoot or Charlie in general. But unfortunately, that took up a lot of episode slots of reviews on this in this month, so I really need to cut them down. Granted, I could have done a trilogy video, but at the same time, I don't want to pressure myself into making a video along with the other projects that I have in store for the future. But I will say I'm thankful that this is one of the final episodes from this show. Regardless if we are never going to see these characters again, it's actually kind of a good thing that we actually get to see two characters who are supporting characters have a major role in an episode. The episode begins with Ranger Tapes and the Bears doing daily work in the ranger station, and Ranger Tapes is concerned about Kirk, who has been lost. Not really lost, but been away for so long after he got older and older. With the Bears filling in on the work in the ranger station, Ranger Tapes accidentally came across Charlie, who's been hiding in one of the bushes, and she needs Charlie's help so that they can find Kirk together. But unfortunately, there's a secret hideout for animals who don't accept human beings whatsoever. So Charlie forces Ranger Tapes to wear a chicken suit that he found in the garbage. Rewatching this episode in preparation for this review, as much as I'm thankful that this is the one of the final episodes before the show came to an end, it also leads to missed opportunities when it comes to other characters who haven't met each other. These characters only used to be panned to be the Bears' best friends, but at the end of the day, they just never meet each other in person. Granted, Charlie is an exception to meet other characters like Chloe and Lucy, but at the same time, I'm pretty sure that there are so many ways that they can work out, and it's honestly grateful for Charlie to actually help Ranger Tapes, even though that he's just afraid of humans being around him. And what makes this episode even more better is the fact that Charlie doesn't know Ranger Tapes that much, but Ranger Tapes respects Charlie for who he is. If Chloe ever met Charlie in the show, she will probably be paranoid. And the fact that there was a planned episode that was scrapped, or it's probably one of the leaks, or just someone just messing something up, I'm pretty sure that wasn't really the case. We could have gotten an episode that centers around Chloe being in fear of Charlie, while at the same time Charlie being in fear that there's a child coming over to the cave multiple times, and yet he doesn't even know that actually ended up happening when it comes to the Bears hanging out with other characters. Granted, Charlie is aware with some characters that he saw for a few seconds, like Lucy from his debut, but at the same time, that's really all that Charlie has known when it comes to meeting the Bears in some occasions. And if this show had another season after the fourth season, we could have gotten that episode, but apparently we didn't. And I understand that the episodes in each season isn't supposed to have a following arc, but at the same time, this is the same argument when it comes to Adventure Time in a Steven Universe, where they have multiple filler episodes and they still have arcs that they need to wrap up. I think one of the reasons why people don't talk about this show is because of advertising again, and I'm pretty sure that Steven Universe and Adventure Time were much more different when it comes to their arcs. And that is saying something when those shows came to an end before this show did. But at times, rewatching this episode, when Charlie and Ranger Tapes get into the cave where Kirk is located, that is where the episode is starting to become a lot more better, even with the final minutes of this. Mainly the fact that after going into the secret hideout where most of Charlie's friends, mainly animals, are located, they had to do some investigation, while also Bob being one of the animals in the secret hideout. If we actually get to come back to this cave, if this show actually continued, we would probably have more episode ideas when it comes to filler. Granted, filler isn't really a good thing, but at the same time, it's mostly filler if the episodes are entertaining in some other way. When Ranger Tapes and Charlie enter inside a cave where Clark is located, they also have to face a wolf pack, and after they got beaten down, Ranger Tapes' phones got knocked out of her, and the Alpha Wolf saw a picture of Ranger Tapes and Clark together. After the Alpha apologizes, he takes Ranger Tapes and Charlie to where Clark is located, since he's also friends with. And the reason why Clark was away from Ranger Tapes is because he's actually starting a family with another wolf, along with 3 newborn cubs. Let me tell you that this ending just made this episode a lot more better when it comes to the dynamic of Charlie and Ranger Tapes and the fact that Clark actually becomes a father. Granted, I don't usually talk about animals in cartoons, but after rewatching this, they actually make Clark a lot more important character, except that this is the final time we get to see him in this show. And I'm pretty sure that for everything that Charlie and Ranger Tapes did together, this ending just made it way more better than it needed to be. And as for Charlie and Ranger Tapes, since they actually know each other a little bit more personally, and the fact that Charlie isn't afraid of Ranger Tapes since that she's a human, it's a really great way for them to actually part on their ways and live on with their lives. And moments like these is one of the reasons why having another season is mostly important if you're gonna have more characters return. Because can you imagine having Lucy and Ranger Tapes being paired, Chloe and Charlie meet each other, or any other ideas that can be very good when it comes to potential? I'm pretty sure that this episode is a huge prime example of that. And to be quite honest, even if the 3rd or 4th season had the most episodes out of any season from the show, I'm pretty sure that this is like probably the close end of an arc when it comes to relationships. Granted, it's kind of feels like that Tapes and Charlie are going about those separate ways so that they can make their lives a lot more simpler, but I'm pretty sure that this wasn't meant to be the final episode. But after rewatching nearly all the episodes from the show, I'm pretty sure that they just didn't know what to handle when it comes to doing another season, since it's been announced that in March of 2018 that the 4th season will be the final. But I'm pretty sure that this show isn't meant to be taken seriously, but after binge watching the entire show, sometimes it needs to be serious in order to be a little bit more successful, while also having more potential ideas that just never came to be. But aside from that, there is one problem I have with this episode, and that's what the Bears do in this. Since that they're running the Ranger Station, they need to do everything by themselves, and Panther said at the end that Ranger Tapes' job is hard. I understand that they're incapable to do anything when it comes to doing what Ranger Tapes does, along with other people's jobs, but at the same time, there's not a lot of screen time. If you combine the screen time between the Bears in this episode, it's probably either under a minute or under 45 seconds. I'm pretty sure that in any other episode, they won't do this, mainly at the fact that it really doesn't lead to anything other than blowing up the entire Ranger Station. And considering that this is the final time we get to be in the Ranger Station, I'm going to assume that the Ranger Station was never rebuilt, and Ranger Tapes decides to move into San Francisco to have a new Ranger Station. I mean, sure, the Ranger Station is required in the woods so that she can actually find and look at the animals or what they're doing, but let's be honest. I'm pretty sure that episodes that involves the ending of a character that we don't get to see since the show came to an end, I'm going to assume that what I said in the last clip is mostly true, even if it's stupid. It just really shows that when they do stuff like this, it just raises more questions when it comes to when it comes to the final episodes, regardless if it's supposed to be for humor and stuff. And this subplot between the Bales in the Ranger Station isn't funny whatsoever. Since we've seen it so many times before, and even though that they're not really accustomed to what Ranger Tapes does for a living, it still doesn't mean that anything is mostly acceptable. Granted, I'm thankful that this isn't the final episode, otherwise this will be the final time we get to see the Bales burning down a house before the movie comes out the following year. But other than that, I really like this episode, and for what it did, for being one of the final episodes, even though it's part of the final season of this show. I give this episode an 8.25 out of 10, and that wraps up We Bale this month. All I can say is that uploading all 22 videos was challenging, but for next month, it's gonna be 10 times even worse since that there's gonna be so much going on at once. So, I'll see you in Summerpalooza 3.
Let's get